Yeah, that's right. Welcome in, welcome back, everybody. Here's the deal. You just got to have that heart, man. Edition of the Always Irish call-in show. Thanks for being here, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Here's the thing. I got to tell you this right away. Right away. Welcome in, everybody. Hope you're having a good week. Everybody that's here. Here's the deal. I'm in an in-between phase right now on this program. Okay. After the season, I haven't been doing the morning shows with the same regularity. I am trying to find a calibration for the offseason that works for everybody, including my schedule. There's some things I got to set up in the offseason to help me get through till we get to the regular season. And I might have to change things. So this might turn into, in the off season, maybe like one show during the in the morning and a couple at night to get more traffic, so people don't have to be available right at 9 o'clock in the morning. They could do it in the evening after work, whatever. Hang with me. The radio show's not going anywhere. I just have to figure out the best routine in the off season. So hang with me on that. Okay. So let's get through the show introduction. We're going to do a roll call, and I highlighted a bunch of comments that feed right into my list of what we're going to go over today, how I see it. I want to try and go through that, and I realized the timing's off. Not everybody was expecting this today. If people want to call, feel free. I want your opinion on Hartman, what this does to the quarterback room, what this does for Buckner, what this does for the team next year. I would like to know, does this change your expectations for 2023? Like I always say, folks, I always say this. Nobody agrees on anything within Notre Dame. Even something I think is just a straight up, no one could say getting Sam Hartman's bad for the program, and I have people fighting me on it. I can't. Notre Dame could win a championship, and the next day I have a call-in show, and half the people are going to say they didn't win by enough. Like, some of these people you can never make happy. Like, you just can't, okay? And some of this is nuanced. Some of this is complicated. I'll be honest with you. Some of this is uncomfortable. Some of what Marcus is doing is uncomfortable in a way Notre Dame fans aren't quite used to. And that's an adjustment. But I think it's a needed one if Notre Dame's going to get where Marcus wants to get it. That's what I'm feeling with a lot of things lately. I get these text messages. I get these calls saying, John, did you hear Marcus did this or did that? I'm not used to that at Notre Dame. Examples. Some of what he did with some of the scholarships right after the regular season ended. And having some tough talks with some guys. We need these scholarships. You maybe need to figure something out. All of that. Like with Pine, whatever. With some of the transfer stuff. Like, there is a more aggressive tone in Freeman. Freeman's running this program a lot more like a top 5 program is right now. And some of it's little stuff you wouldn't notice if it wasn't Notre Dame, but we're not used to cutthroat winning at Notre Dame. We're not used to having a coach who's willing to do what it takes to put us in that position. We're not used to that. So it's an adjustment when there's a cutthroat quarterback dynamic where you don't know what's going to happen, and a guy we loved and wanted to see do well may not fit in the puzzle. That's tough. That's tough. It's uncomfortable. But it's reality. I feel like Freeman is just looking at this like a real top 5 program and trying to build it that way as much as he can within the Notre Dame framework. You know, maintaining their values and doing that kind of stuff. All right? But I feel like Freeman's cranking it up. He's cranking it up. And I just don't think everybody's used to it. And an example of that is, here's the easiest example of what I say when I say people aren't used to it. People are freaking the hell out about the quarterback room and what's going to happen to Buckner and Angeli. And then you're going to have Minchie and Carr. What's going to happen with all these guys? What if one of them leaves? Who cares if one of them leaves? Who cares? Like, on a baseline level, I want all of our guys to get a Notre Dame degree. That just isn't reality, though. I would like that. It would make me feel good as someone who loves Notre Dame to know everybody who came here, wanted to play football, got a scholarship, at least going to have that Notre Dame degree. It is a reality. It's not going to happen for everybody. Okay? It's not reality. That's not going to happen, everybody. So who cares? Whoever's going to leave the quarterback room is a guy that isn't going to win the job. So shouldn't that kind of tell you what needs to happen naturally? Because if somebody leaves, whoever it is, Angeli, or if it's Buckner, whatever, if somebody does leave because of all this, that's what happens at a big-time program. People come and go. They compete. Somebody wins. Somebody loses. You don't go into a year where there's just... We are not used to having multiple quarterbacks competing for a job that people think have high-level capabilities. That's what I think this all comes down to, and it's making people nervous. That's what I think this is. We're not used to having a competition where you might feel good about more than one guy. That hasn't been our world. That hasn't been our world, and it's making people uncomfortable. Embrace some of the uncomfortableness. I think it's going to be good for everybody. And that's something I'm glad to see Freeman doing, is shaking up some of this. Shaking up some of the normal way we've been doing things that hasn't worked, and we all complained about it. Now he's doing something different, so roll with it. Okay? It's just, we're not used to this here. We're not used to this. Having a real competition with multiple guys that we think could be good, and you might lose one. It's uncomfortable. We're not used to it. Oh, man. All right. So I see some phone calls, and I want to get to those. So let me hit my notes, and then we'll do it, okay? YouTube, you're already here. Subscribe if you haven't. I don't know what you're doing here every day if you didn't subscribe. Give me a break. Thumbs up. Appreciate that. Notifications on. That way you'll be alerted every time there's a new episode. Okay, Twitter, search bar, always Irish rat. Always Irishing. Emails, always irishindy@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want me. You can locate me, Fighting Irish Wire. We got stuff covering all of this on Fighting Irish Wire. Hang in there. Hang in there. Okay. Every day there's something. Every single day there's something there. What is this? What did somebody say? I wanted to comment on this. ND Savage Dog. He's in a good mood because of Georgia. ND will make the playoffs next season. It's tough. They have a challenging schedule. You know, you have Ohio State, Clemson, and USC as a baseline. So it is a tough schedule next year. Still a lot of moving parts and a roster in some variation of flux for a while, couple cycles. So I don't know about that. Let's see. Sharky, 85 people on the line, 25 likes. You people, what are you, asleep? Take your thumb and move it half an inch. Give me a break. All right. Let me get through mine, a couple of the chats, and then we'll do some calls, and we'll see how it goes. Here's number one. I want to react to some of this. Okay. Here's number one. Long-term path for Notre Dame. I still prefer a homegrown, high-level recruit. That way you can grow at Notre Dame multiple years with yourself and your teammates as a man. You could develop a timing and rhythm with all your skill guys. You just kind of learn and grow together. I find benefit in that and stability in that. It helps maintain your culture. By homegrown, I mean you recruit them and they're yours since high school. That's what I mean by homegrown. I mean a guy you recruit and you develop multiple years. That's what I mean by homegrown, okay? I think for long-term stability and maintaining your culture, that's the best path for Notre Dame. At a place where it could more easily be one and done, ready to win every year, half the team's flipping, it might be different. Notre Dame's never going to be that. I don't want them to be that. They can't be that anyways because of the academics. All right. So long-term, I would prefer that. Notre Dame's not there yet. Last year, Freeman took a risk with no transfer with experience and had almost no experience left. He took that risk with Buckner and Pine and nobody else. Okay. Then Buckner went down. Disaster. It was a disaster. That was the number one worst case scenario for this year, was Buckner to get hurt. That was it. The number one worst thing that could happen happened. Of course, they didn't have an experienced guy to go to, so then then we were in a bad position. Freeman is not going to risk that again. So we went and landed the best quarterback in the portal. Give Reese credit for this too. He's involved here a lot. Now, what I hope is after this, you have Minchie, Carr. Then we could get into more of the natural rhythm to me with quarterbacks where you recruit one with high level, develop them, and you get on that track. I am hopeful after this next Hartman thing, that's where Notre Dame will go. And I think they can because they will have the talent to be able to do it. On that note, we asked for more quarterback talent. We begged for more quarterback talent. You got more quarterback talent. Hartman, Minchie, Carr gives you that. Very good job. And again, this has been mentioned in the chat 10 times. One of my favorite parts about all this is if it is indeed going to be Hartman that starts, Tommy Reese says no excuses. You better see a good offense, and it better look a lot different with all the things and the throws Hartman can make that we have not been able to make lately. That is beautiful. There's no reason. Unleash it all, baby. Unleash it all. Any magic play designs, any route charts Reese has been dreaming of but didn't feel like he had the guy to be able to run it. No excuses. So you're going to find all that out. You're going to find all that out. Okay? You're going to get it all. You're going to know. Now, here's the tricky thing. What about Buckner? All the other stuff I said was easy. This is where it gets tricky. Okay? People were even mad that in my cover for the show where I announced that Hartman was coming here, just on the cover, it said QB number 1, just for something to take up the space, right? And people didn't like that. People did not like that. I just did it as a nice cover, whatever you call it for your YouTube video, a cover, I forget what, thumbnail, whatever. People were mad. John, how are you going to say he's QB1? You're being disrespectful. Here's what I see. There's been a debate of whether or not he was promised the job. Why would a 6th-year guy with all his body of work, the number 1 quarterback in the portal, go somewhere where he's not thinks he's going to play? That would make 0 sense, and no logical person in the world would do that. So the debate is, was he promised this job, or is this going to be a competition? We can't just be handing the job to guys, that kind of thing. My thought on that is, either way, it's going to end with Hartman starting if him and Buckner are both healthy in camp. So either way it went, Freeman and Reese going, oh, it looks like you'll probably be the job. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Or if it was legitimately, we need to have competition. And if you want to come in here and do this, let's do it. Either way that goes. If they're both healthy, I see Hartman starting. Right? In a quarterback competition between Hartman and Buckner, somebody tell me what would make you pick Buckner. I am not being rude or degrading him. I'm not thrilled that he won that bowl game and got that victory. I'm not trying to be that guy, but I'm asking you, between Hartman and Buckner, somebody tell me what would make you pick Buckner. What would make you pick Buckner in that battle other than allegiance, because he's a Notre Dame guy that's been around forever with a lot of potential, and we all feel bad that he got hurt, and we all want to see him do well. And we have a relationship with Buckner. Buckner's been that shiny object in our eye forever that we thought he'll be the guy that unlocks this offense, all of that. Other than emotional Notre Dame allegiance to the homegrown guy that we all want to succeed, and we're all frustrated that he hasn't been able to play enough to develop. Other than that, he's had bad luck. Other than that, what is there? To explain to me the path that Buckner beats out this guy. Experience? No. You have like 5 games of experience with Buckner and 5 years of documented high-end experience with this guy. It's not experience. Is it production? Do I even need to go down that path of breaking down the production between 5 games of Buckner and he has as many pick six as touchdowns almost, and this guy's body of work? 8,000 yards, 77 touchdowns in the last 2 years. So it isn't on production. Is it on national accolades and people saying, no, it's not that. Hartman has all that. What would lead anybody to put money on Buckner in this contest other than emotional allegiance? I just don't see it. He can run better. I might give you that he can run better. In no way does that overtake what Hartman has done in his track record and body of work. Not even close. If you want to have Hartman start and then you want to have packages for Buckner's legs and mix in them, like, I don't know. But I cannot see any logical or practical argument other than you like the Notre Dame guy and we've hoped he will be our guy. There's no practical football way anybody could pick Buckner in this dynamic. I just don't see it if they're both healthy. One has a hugely successful high-level body of work and the other doesn't. It's not an apples-to-apples thing. One of them's starting way, way ahead. And here's what I think it all comes down to. Hartman provides stability and high upside. Buckner provides only the possible upside. And I think I was writing these notes last night. That's what I circled. That's what this all comes down to me. Hartman provides stability and upside. Buckner only the upside. And that's a risk Freeman can't take again because he took it last year and it burned him. It's that simple. Now, do I want a hot quarterback competition and I want Buckner throwing great throws and balling out and they're both looking great? Hell yeah, I do. That's where you get into that's how you raise the bar in that room for Notre Dame. Get in there and fight for it, which I'm sure Buckner's going to do. I've rooted for the kid. I feel horrible that he's had nothing but bad luck and bad timing his whole time in Notre Dame. Tell me he hasn't. Tyler Buckner's had nothing but bad luck and or bad timing his entire time in Notre Dame. Every year, it's bad timing, bad luck. And I say it all the time. I go over it. I go over it all the time. ACL, COVID year in high school, red shirt year, cone year, falling down the steps, then you're the starter and you're injured. Nothing but bad luck, bad timing. Just it's never lined up for the guy. Now, I'm talking about all this quarterback stuff, and people are getting concerned about the defensive line. Here's the funny part about that. The funny part about a few people mentioning the defensive line in the future is I've been worried about that too. And it's weird to me that a few people have said this because I don't really remember me bringing it up. But I'm a little worried we're getting a little light there too. And it's weird to me that other people have that kind of vibe. I just have a feeling we're getting a little light there. And here's what you can't have happen. God, this would be so Notre Dame-y. We're going to the phones in a minute. This would be so Notre Dame-y. But what I can't have happen is Tommy Rees gets these quarterbacks and then the skill talent and the offense starts to be better. And the offense starts to maybe even creep into territory where it's like a top 10 exciting offense. I can't have the defense balance back out bad. So then we end up in the same spot we've been for 10 years. It's just that now the offense is good and the defense is letting us down. I can't do that. I can't do that. So like that's the deal is you can't have a situation where the offense gets up to snuff and the defense bounces back, falls back a little bit. I'm not open to that. So I'm a little nervous about that too. And in a lot of ways, that's another reason Keon Keeley hurts. That could have been a guy that started and disrupted right away next year. Changed the whole dynamic and discussion if that was the deal. Let's see. I want to see Tommy kick the offense tempo up. Pick your spots. Pick your spots with that. Go fast, go slow, do what you could do. And here's the other thing that people need to understand. I get asked, John, what you want Notre Dame to pass the ball and fly all around and have this fast offense, their identities being physical and all that. Why do people think you have to give up being physical to be able to pass the ball around when you want or need to? I need you to be able to power run the ball with attitude when you want and or need to, and be able to throw the ball around and have a fast-paced offense and be electric and do all that. It's not one or the other. Why can't your identity be that physicality? And it's across the board. Physicality and pass blocking. You don't have to give up that identity. You weave whatever features the next iteration of the offense can provide on top of what we've been operating with. You weave that into the physicality in the running game, and it becomes an extension of that. And then guess what? You're unstoppable. You can run it, you can pass it. Beautiful. Oh man, competition raises the bar, folks, for everybody. I hope to God, I don't want it to be, Hartman, just come here and sit around and you have the job. Of course I want a healthy competition. I'm just 100% certain if both healthy, Hartman's winning that job 100 times out of 100 based on a million different things. All right, couple chats, and then we're getting to the calls. Hang in there, folks. Notre Dame 21-64. So if somehow TB12 were to beat out Hartman in the fall, the staff better pray Buckner balls out. What you can't have happen is Buckner starts and struggles with Hartman on the bench. Not going to happen. Don't worry about it. Like, it's that simple. That situation isn't going to happen, so I'm not worried about it. You're not going to end up in that deal. Phil Hagg, Hartman in the house. Great one-year bridge to as Minchie develops. That's the other thing that you could like about this. You have a sixth-year guy with a ton of accolades, seen it all. The guy's an old man by college football standards, 25, 26 years old, I believe. And you're going to have Minchie probably on that red shirt. Beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. What a great guy for him to learn how to quarterback from and under. And then Carr comes in the next year, and we have all these discussions again about the quarterback competition. Phil says Buckner's not beating out Hartman. Come on. I tend to agree with that. While I want as good of a battle as it can be, because the more good quarterbacks we have, the better. Gee, it's not like I'm saying I want Buckner to be bad. So Hartman, no, I want them both to be good. I just think if they're both good, Hartman wins a job. It's that simple. Again, Hartman provides stability and high upside. Buckner only provides the high upside. Freeman can't risk that again. He played with fire and got burned last year doing this. Can't do it again. This is risk mitigation, folks. This is risk mitigation. And he got burned last year, and he ain't doing it again. Okay? Not doing it again. Mikey Poles, good to see you. He's talking about Boy Wonder. And Reese, you're going to see it. Let it unleash, baby. Let it unleash. Whatever you got. Whatever route trees you didn't think we could run before, let them go. You know why? Because Frank would want you to. Look at this mug. It even has Frank's autograph on it. I like having Frank with me in the morning. Who wouldn't? He's a winner. Oh, look at this. Phil, the fact the Irish are building depth at QB is scaring the S out of me. Like something has to be wrong here. Phil, we laugh about this, But you're 100% correct. We laugh about it, but a part of this discussion is people are so uncomfortable with the fact that there might be hurt feelings and people that have to transfer out because they drop down the depth. Like, it just feels a lot more like a top 5 operation here in how some things are handled. And I don't think a lot of the Notre Dame fans they're certainly not used to it, and they're not prepared for it. It seems a little bit more cutthroat, and that's what it takes. We're just not used to it here. That's the deal. How about that, Mikey Poles? How about that transfer Oklahoma State safety Cristobal for Notre Dame? Just last night, I was telling somebody, they were asking, anything else you want? I said, I'll take a safety. I take some D-line help. I take a wide receiver that could come play right away next year. That would be my list. Oh, here you go, Matthew. All I see on social media are the haters crying about Hartman coming into. You know how it goes. It's tampering when somebody else does it. But if your team gets a guy, just good old-fashioned recruiting and hard work, staying on the grind. Like, everybody's so disingenuous in college football. Admit it. That's what the deal is. When your guys wheel and deal and you pull something up and get a guy, it's good old-fashioned hard work, nose on the grindstone. And when your enemy lands a guy, they must be tampering. Where's the bag of money and the women in the car in the house? Like, that's just the way it goes. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Bruce Hope, the format. The Hartman thing's interesting. He obviously didn't come to ND to sit or compete. But I think next year would have been a breakout season for Buckner. I feel bad for the kid. Well, Bruce, you said he obviously didn't come to ND to sit or compete. A guy that thinks he's going to win the job isn't afraid to compete for the job. That's something I don't think everybody's getting. When you ask, was he promised a job or would this be a comp? If you're confident enough, you're going to win the competition. You're not scared of the competition. So either way it goes. Either way it goes. And he feels like next season might be a breakout for Buckner. Then you're running into the issue, Bruce, of Hartman provides stability and upside, Buckner only the upside. And that is not a risk Freeman can take 2 years in a row. That is what this all boils down to me. Angela Rudiger, can't believe I'm about to say this. Missed your stupid voice on these shows. Oh, thanks, Rudy. Appreciate that. Deb Thomas, good to see you here. Good to see you here. Oh, here's one. Bob Alvey, good to see you here. Bob Alvey's pictures at the golf course. I love to see that, Bob. No 3 putts. 3 putts of the devil, and they're contagious too. Truth to the rumor that TR could not get BK to sign off on QBs he was interested in until it was too late. TR wanted DJ, Klubnik, and other high-profile QBs, but couldn't get the okay from BK to pursue. I have not heard this specifically. Vaguely, yeah, I know that to be true. I know that to be true 100%. That by the time Notre Dame started to identify and get in the mix with a lot of these top-end quarterbacks, they were way too late. Too many inroads and relationships were made with other staffs and teams, and Notre Dame was chasing from behind. That was a key component to Notre Dame's struggles to attract and land the top-level quarterbacks under Kelly, especially towards the end. That is 100% true. He was not getting on those top quarterbacks early enough to build a relationship to even keep you in the race down the stretch. So, Bob, I don't know about like Klubnik specifically and all that, but the general philosophy you're speaking of, I can definitely verify from a million people. It's a shame. I'm just glad it's over. Glad it's over. Calls in 1 minute. Bass and Domer. I think the wide receivers will continue to improve under Chansey. They haven't been coached properly in years, and they no longer have to watch YouTube videos to figure it out. That's so funny to me. It's so funny to me because people do use YouTube for everything. I have an issue with my computer. I YouTube it. How do you fix something in your car? YouTube it. Like, you name it, you go there to learn it. Fortunately for us, Notre Dame has a true teacher and communicator now in that room, and Chancey Stuckey's done a good job, continues to do a good job. Oh, Connor, go Irish. Good to see you again. I hope you had fun at the game. Greg Listman, good to see you, Greg. Good to see you. V1 Rotate, the haters are hating. Are they jealous? You know what it is, man. When you get a guy, it's all good. When they get a guy, it's tampering. That's just the way it goes. Zone 6, how does it feel to finally have a good QB? According to some people here, we still have none. And according to other people, now we have like 3 or 4. So we're just dealing with one extreme or the other. There's still a minority contingent in this fan base that is convinced Hartman is Pine or Ian Book on steroids a little bit. I just think you're underselling his accomplishments a lot. I really just do. Let's see. Yep. Crazy boy. No excuses for Tommy now. None. Yep. Beautiful. ND will be top 5 preseason again. I was wondering about that. Does a move like Hartman impact that much? I don't know. Baylor man. Good to see you here, Baylor man. Thanks for joining us. Good get for ND. Now Hartman has a better offensive line. That should not be in doubt that offensive line. You know, I've had people say that ACC is weak and you got to take away some of what Hartman's done because of that weak conference and all that. On the flip side of that, there's no way you could tell me he's going to have a better line at Wake or has had one at Wake than he would have at Notre Dame. So in that way, I can kind of balance out the pluses and the minuses of looking at it that way. So Robert K, total change for 23, but then what? I got a perfect answer for that, Robert. I'm glad you asked. The roadmap here is clear to me. And I actually approve of it, and I like it. You have Hartman now to cover the risk of running into next year in the exact same dynamic you did the year before, with a guy with barely any experience, and if he gets hurt, you're screwed. Did it last year, got burned. Hartman, okay. But then what? Then you would have Minchie coming off a red shirt, so you would have not be a true rookie, have 1 year of being around. You would have Minchie. Then you have 5-star Carr coming in as a freshman. If he's all-world 5-star, shouldn't he be able to compete for that job right away? And then if Buckner stays, you have him in that mix. That's what comes next. Is somebody going to get mad, lose those jobs, and want to leave? Probably. That's the real world. So that's what happens next. This builds you a bridge to higher level, younger guys that could get us more into my development mode, get them in young and do that track. That's what I think comes next after this. I'll get caught up with the chats here, and then we're going to the phone calls. 562-480-707-937. You guys are coming up first. Pat says there's still more fat to trim on this ND roster. I'm telling you, people aren't ready for the way Freeman looks at this stuff. We're not used to it in Notre Dame. We're not. Chris, good to see you here, Chris. Talk about a catch-22. On one hand, we get Hartman, who will plug a hole we desperately needed. On the other hand, it's lipstick on a pig. If Hartman plays well, there still won't be QB development. Chris, I get what you're saying, and I've thought of that as well. God, man, you guys, some of you are right on with this stuff and some of the offshoots that I think of. Chris, I've thought of this. I get what you're saying, and I agree with it. If you look at it as if Buckner's not the starter, that's a full another year that he's not developing on the field as the start. I get all that. But Notre Dame tried to give that a chance last year and got burned. They can't do it again. That's what, when I say my preference is a homegrown guy and you develop them, this is the dynamic you're talking about. This is exactly it. And that's why I prefer that developmental track most of the time. This is not most of the time. Tried it last year, got burned. Freeman, this is about risk mitigation. Couldn't risk it again. So I get that developmental part of it. This is just too big of a risk to end up in the same spot you did last year, or to realize Buckner doesn't have the accuracy that it's ever going to be what you need halfway through the year. Whatever it is, Freeman couldn't risk it again. Couldn't. Jacob Brown. We're not used to winning anything that matters. Big changes are welcome. Yep. And I would argue that if they make you uncomfortable, they're even better. Like, that's what I argue. A lot of this stuff, Notre Dame folks have come to me and said, does this sound right to you? This isn't very Notre Dame-y. I go, good. Like, it's nothing untoward or like not more, under Notre Dame's values. It's just cutthroat college football. We're not used to it here. It's all it is real top 10, top 5, how you look at building a program is what you're getting right now. We didn't have that before. The more uncomfortable this all gets for everybody, I think the better. It's still hard to knock some of the Kelly-ness off this fan base with expectations or certain things. Freeman's doing it different. He's doing it different. It looks different and it feels different. And some of it is uncomfortable. Good. Embrace that change. Crazy boy, who cares about Buckner? Well, I do, because I feel bad for the guy. That's who cares about Buckner, me, because I feel bad. Nothing but bad luck and bad timing. So I care about Buckner. Does that mean I think he should start over Hartman? Hell no, but I still care about Buckner. Next man up, next man in. I mean, that sounds cold, but it kind of has to be. Oh, man. Sharky. I love adding some competition in the quarterback room and only make ND stronger. Competition is the tide that rises all ships. So I've heard or read. I don't know. Matthew. Buckner throws as many pick six TDs for the other team as he does for Notre Dame. That's just what the facts say. That's his stat line, you guys. Gosh. Buckner, bad luck, bad timing. Telling you, you want to talk about luck of the Irish, go to Notre Dame. Not for Buckner. Every single year, not for him. Bill says, good to see you, Bill. Buckner will enter the portal. If he does, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. And I wish him well anywhere else. Maybe he'll have a better run than he did in Notre Dame. Oh, boy. Hartman makes Notre Dame a problem right away. I told you Freeman was the man to turn it around. Future looks good at QB. Savage dog coming from a Georgia guy. Good luck in the game Monday to you, by the way. Also, if people are worried about Buckner, then they don't see the potential of this team right now. From Anthony. Our fan base changes like the wind. D-Rock says, compete now. The waiting is over. Entitlement is over. Yeah, I love a dynamic where nobody's comfortable with their job. That means you got a lot of guys that are pushing other guys. Beautiful. Kenny. Hey, always Irish family. Hope you're well. No excuses for Tommy. No excuses for Tommy. Let's go, baby. ND will make the playoff. I don't know. Tough schedule. And even though we're now getting into Marcus Freeman's recruiting and not a Swamp Thing, even though we're doing that, this will still be the freshman year of all Freeman's guys he's recruiting's first year. So, yeah, you're getting Freeman guys in there, but they're only freshmen. So it's going to get better as the years go along and they get experience to develop, shape their bodies, all of that. Wow, this is beautiful. Look at this. Bob says, D1 soccer coach told my daughter on her official visit, talking about all the positives. Coach said, my job is to recruit players better than you. Your job is to make sure that doesn't happen. That is beautifully put. Beautifully put. Sharky, great ND content. Love the show, John. Well, I love you encouraging me to keep doing the show. El Nino Brown, good to see you. Let's see. Brian O'Connor. Brian, good to see you. I know Brian. Brian's in my area, White Sox fan, miserable White Sox fan like me. Do I think a New Year's Six is possible next year? For sure. For the rest of Freeman's time in Notre Dame. 10-2 is a disaster basement, the bottom that's acceptable. Everything else needs to be 11-1, 12-0. That's what it's got to be from now on, Marcus. Got to be. And the other thing is, I'm talking about low-end seasons being 10-2 from now on. 10-2 might make the playoff most, if not every year. Imagine that on a down year. They'd be a down year. Okay. All right. I will highlight some of these chats to get back to. I want to give some phone calls a chance. 562, I'm talking to you.
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going, John?
It's going very well. Never a dull moment with Notre Dame. There's always something, my friend. There's always something. And this dynamic's very interesting. A lot of things are changing with the program. How do you feel about all this?
I'm kind of excited for this Hartman QB. He is pretty good. We all know that. The whole Buckner thing too. He did play pretty well, but I kind of have like your stance on Buckner as well. I feel bad for him, but
bad luck, bad timing, man.
Getting injured,
Yep.
Bad luck, bad timing, injury prone. Not as developed as he should be.
Yep.
Has years of eligibility left. He can definitely take the transfer route, like Drew Pine did. And which brings up another point. He's deciding to stay, even though they were transparent with him too. Like Drew Pine and Buckner both got the same news. They were like, "Hey, we're going in the portal for QB.
Yeah.
You guys, if you want to stay, you could stay, but you guys are gonna have to fight for it."
Yeah.
Pine left, Buckner stayed.
Yeah.
So I guess that says a lot about him too, right? I mean, he wanted to stay at ND. He felt confident, but I mean, obviously, Sam Hartman, that guy's a dog. So if he gets that position, QB1, does Buckner stay? I have no clue, man.
Yep.
We'll see how that
Yep.
goes.
It's very
That's what I
awkward.
feel about that.
Dude, I feel so torn because a part of me loves the Hartman. It's a cutthroat business. I love the body of work. I think it could get the Freeman era accelerated kind of on a good jump start. And I just feel bad for Buckner just as a guy, as a player, and how frustrated he must be with everything that's happened. And it's kind of uncomfortable is how I would describe it. But that's cutthroat. Winning football is being uncomfortable and some tough decisions and things that have to happen. So I feel bad for the kid. It's uncomfortable, but Freeman's job is to do what's best for the program. And he always has to keep that in mind with every decision.
Yeah, which is win a national championship. And I kind of respect that cutthroat decision, which says a lot about Freeman, because our depth in QB was, I mean, over the past several years, was not really that great, man, in terms of like talent, was not really great. And then Freeman came in here, and who do we have now? And after his first year is done, we have Buckner, we have Hartman, we have
Minchie and Carr.
Minchie, and then Carr until he signs pen to paper, which hopefully, he sticks true to it. But that, I mean, in 1 year,
yep,
that says a lot about him, dude. Like he really knows the goal, and he knows what it takes to get there.
Yep.
Because when you look at all the guys at the top, we all know they have studs for QB.
Yep.
So
it's a big deal, man. It's a big deal because when you look at the number one thing kind of holding Notre, if people ask me, for the last few years, what's the number one thing that could get Notre Dame a lot better the quickest? It would be a quarterback with an arm that can make all the throws. And now you have that. And you're going to have that. And so I feel good as a fan. Yeah. And like the one thing that I asked for, all of us talk about more quarterback talent, more competition in that room. You got it. We asked for it. It took under a year, and you're going to get it. And you're setting it up for a long-term track like that. I like where we're at.
I do like where we're at. And just the style of QB we're aiming for now is kind of where you see all the elite quarterbacks playing, like Georgia, Alabama, so on and so forth. And they're all tall. They can run. They can throw. They have an arm. And that's where Freeman, and I'm assuming Tommy Rees is heading in that direction, which I kind of don't understand. Was it a Brian Kelly thing where where, whoever they recruited. I know Buckner was good, but I mean, you had Ian Book, you had Drew Pine. Like, that was all there when Tommy Rees was recruiting. So, I mean, what's the difference between Tommy Rees recruiting with Brian Kelly and Tommy Rees recruiting with Marcus Freeman? Is it Freeman saying, "Hey, I want better quarterbacks," or was it Brian Kelly being like, "No, like, we should stick to these kind of quarterbacks," or maybe we just weren't recruiting well with Brian Kelly with quarterbacks.
All right, here's the one thing that was a problem with Notre Dame and the top level recruit quarterbacks. We're talking about quarterbacks specifically. One of the biggest issues is all of those top guys, these other teams were on for years, building relationships, having a back and forth, like developing that relationship years in cases before Notre Dame even introduced themselves to a guy. You're already behind. That was Kelly's quarterback recruiting dynamic. We always started from behind because he didn't see the value in engaging these guys before he knew their test scores would be good enough to get in Notre Dame when they're like younger in high school or whatever. He wanted to wait till he knew he wasn't wasting his time and they all had the grades and the tests and whatever. Then that put him in a position where when he felt like he could go to them and not wasting his time, it was too late because those other teams weren't waiting for that and they developed the relationships. I know for a fact that was a part of Kelly's dynamic with quarterbacks, and it put us behind for every single big name guy. We were never even really in the mix because we didn't even know the guy and everybody else did. That changed right away. Freeman is getting on these guys multiple years ahead of when Kelly did. That right there, that one change is going to open everything up, especially if Tommy is as good dealing with these parents and families as everybody says he is. We could debate the on-field, what the offense, all that, but the relationship stuff and the recruiting, everybody seems to love them. That one change alone is going to impact how this goes. And Kelly was the closer. 9th inning guy, you bring him in, he closes it out, seals the deal. Freeman isn't like that. Freeman's evolved from the beginning. Those two changes are going to change a lot.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, Brian Kelly's gone. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I appreciate the feedback on that. But now we have Freeman. He's obviously recruiting well with Tommy Rees. Now that Tommy Rees has quarterbacks he should win with, what is the timeline you'll give him on, if he stays or goes? Like, do you think it's next year with a transfer quarterback, or do you think you give him a couple more years to see if he can develop these young guys coming in, or maybe Buckner stays?
Oh man, what a good question.
Buckner,
what a good question. God, man, a lot of these chats and what you're saying are all this little nuanced stuff that I've been thinking about. It makes me feel good to know other people are thinking about it. Like again, this is tough. Number one, if it's Hartman, don't you expect to see noticeable differences in how things look just visually as a casual fan? If you have Hartman's skill set, the offense should be set up to do different things and look different. I think you would expect the numbers to go up, production to go up. All that stuff is reasonable to expect. However, even with like the wide receivers, and that isn't in a great spot at this second. There's talent coming in, but it's young. So I think they're still not in a great position at all, the skill spots. But I think Hartman helps move that along quicker is kind of how I see it.
Yeah. I mean, I see that too, but I don't know, man. There's a lot of Tommy Rees haters out there, and I kind of was on that train when we were losing, but then I started to realize like the bigger picture and what like the hand he was dealt, and I don't know, man. I'm still kind of on that Tommy train a little bit. I think that he'll be a good OC. I really do think though he's a good playmaker, play caller. I just think that, I mean, that's questionable, right? I mean, I don't want to piss anyone off, but
Oh, why not?
That's just my opinion on it.
Why not? Nobody else cares here. Nobody else cares here. But it really is like a 50-50, dude.
About that.
It's like a 50-50, man. Half the people love him and believe in him, and half want him gone 2 years ago. But what I think is, I just think the biggest argument is just wait till he has a quarterback that can make all the throws. Now, if Hartman starts, he has that. So he should help those receivers look better and develop right away. He can make all the throws. Like, I do expect things to look different. I think that's a realistic expectation.
But what about a quarterback coach? Like, that's what I was trying to get at. What about a quarterback?
Need it?
Like, can he just let his pride aside?
See, again. Freeman got burnt last year when he didn't get experience transfer and went with the upside young guy, got burned with the injury. On this is another thing he got burned on. I was told he wanted to get a quarterback coach, kind of somebody or an analyst to help Reese and all that. And Reese said he didn't need it. Let me do it. And we couldn't score for the first month. So, like, I don't know. But to me, if I'm Freeman, I'm saying, dude, you told me not to worry about it last year. We couldn't score for like a month. Give me a break. Like, we're bringing a guy in. And that's something Freeman just has to have a hardline stance to protect the whole operation.
I give it a season, man. You have Hartman. He's experienced. You know, I think he's kind of putting on the training wheels a little bit. Freeman just put on the training wheels with Tommy. I mean, I think he realizes that, and he's just like, all right, man, like, I'm starting to take this over. So I think it's about a year until we can get a quarterback coach, an analyst, whatever it is. Like, you got an experienced quarterback. We're opening up the playbook. I'm pretty damn sure Hartman's going to win that battle. He's too good. He's too experienced. He has an arm. He can also run. I give it a year, man. But I guess just to conclude, I feel like we're on the up and up. That's just my 2 cents on that. I think Tommy Reese is a decent OC. I don't want to piss anyone off. But, yeah, Notre Dame Nation, I think we're all right.
Yep, I think you're trending up. The talent's trending up. The depth's trending up. I think we all just want this to be like 2 to 3 years further down the road than we are at this moment, just to kind of see what it looks like when things are more settled in the new dynamics. We're just not there yet. You know, I want to get 2 to 3 years down the road, see what this roster looks like. We're just going to have to have patience, but really good thoughts, my friend. You hit on a lot of stuff that's on my mind. Really good call. I appreciate it.
Bye, buddy. Take care, man.
Have a good one. Thank you very much. What a nice guy. Nobody calls this show and starts with, I don't want to piss anybody off. Don't have that worry here. Wrong show. Zone 6 says there will be a fake one. And I'm assuming that's in relation to the quarterback competition. In a way, I understand that. Because it is a bad message if it's just kind of like, well, Hartman's the starter. Well, then why should Buckner show up and even try hard? Like, I kind of get the dynamic you're saying with a fake competition because you want to breed competition. So me as a fan could look at it and go, yeah, probably a fake competition. They're saying it's open, but everybody knows Hartman's going to win it. You kind of have to say it's a competition because this is all about competition. Steven, Hartman is better than Cone. It's a super upgrade. The only thing Cone's better than Hartman at is looking and acting like the Statue of Liberty. I'll give him that. He was a lot better than Hartman at doing that. So I'll give him that one. Okay. Oh, man. Here we go. Let's see. El Nino Brown. I like that avatar pick. Flat out, TB just has to come in and take over. If he's the elite 4-star talent recruit Nick say he is, absolutely. If maybe that's what it takes. And Buckner comes out in August camp and there's just no incompletions. He's doing 360 spins, jumping around, guys. I don't know. I hope for it. Michael Campbell, Buckner's more dynamic if he's close enough to Sam Hartman passing the ball. By dynamic, do you just mean running? Because I would rather have this guy passing for all these touchdowns, and I don't need as much of the running. Like, those aren't equal inverse ratios. More dynamic, I think when I hear that, I think of his ability to run. But I could also look at being dynamic as a quarterback who can make all the throws or slip it in between a window or change his arm slot and do something. Like, dynamic to me means different things, but a lot of times in a quarterback discussion, I think it's based on running the ball. And so that's how I see it. And I've even said, if when I asked, if there's a competition, where would you give Buckner the lead? What would make you do that? If you wanted to say to me, he's a more dynamic, pure runner than Hartman, fine, I'll give you that. But in no way does that overtake everything Hartman brings to the table in the discussion. It doesn't. There's no way. So if that's your dynamic, build out a package in the red zone for Buckner to run and confuse the defense then. Use him that way. So that's how I see that. But even if I concede to you as a pure runner, Buckner is better, that does not overtake the body of work and the reliability and the high-level stability Hartman gives you. El Nino, that's not nice. You can't get hurt walking down the stairs, champ. It's unfortunate. Oh, Kent, good to see you, Kent. 480, you're my hero. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, John? Long time, man.
Hey,
Great.
I've been thinking about you. It's been a while. Did your schedule change? I literally did think of you. I'm glad you called.
Yeah, man, just been busy with a lot of work and other things, man. But I had to jump back in on this, man. When I saw the Hartman news, man, I'm like, wow. Like, all season long we've been watching these games. We watch Pine get passes batted down left and right, getting sacked like crazy because he can't really move. The decision making was horrible. When Buckner got in, Buckner was like a deer in headlights when he first started out because there's just no experience in that room. And now, literally like overnight, we got experience in the quarterback room. Okay? Like, we got a veteran presence in the quarterback room.
And not only that, but wait, now wait. Cone was that too, but like a veteran presence is a veteran presence. This one I think is different because it isn't just a veteran with experience. There's a high level track record body of work that I like.
Yeah. Like, it's not this time around. It's not the fact that we just have a veteran presence, but we got guys coming in that have a higher upside, like Minchie, who need to see a veteran in that room to know what it means to be a college quarterback. Because I'm going to be honest with you, he's not going to learn that from Buckner. I'm just going to keep it on the 100.
Well,
he's not going to learn.
Right, because Buckner's still learning. It's because of all the bad luck and everything. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right about that. If you were going to learn under an older guy, Hartman's the best one in the country to do it from, probably.
Right. I mean, this is one of the all-time leading touchdown guys in ACC history.
Yep, he has the second most passing yards all time in the ACC. Second most passing yards all time in the ACC. That's pretty.
Think about that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's pretty phenomenal.
All right, but are you worried about the Buckner dynamic? Does he leave? Does that bother you? Should we cater to him because he was our guy earlier, or is it just? Freeman's doing it different. It's cutthroat. You win the job. You don't win the job.
Let me say this, man. The game has changed. This is college football. This is a business. Beyond anything else, this is a business. Okay? And you got to come and show up. Okay? Like, I used to run track in college. Okay? I was a long jumper, triple jumper, and I was a high jumper. And every year we had an evaluation. If you didn't hit certain metrics, if you weren't putting in that work, look, your scholarship was on the line. And either you got it pulled or you lost some money because another guy comes in. I saw guys literally losing their scholarships because they wasn't put in the work. And guess what? The coach was telling them, hey, you got a new guy coming in. I want you to train him on how to do this, that, and other. And he was better than the guy that, was there. So this is in college, it's a different game. Like, it's not high school where everybody gets a participation award. We want everybody to be here and get along and kumbaya. It's a business. And at Notre Dame, there is under no circumstance, no reason why that room should not be a top 5 room every freaking year. And the fan base, I'm sure the majority of the fan base is tired of seeing inadequate performance in that room. And for once, I feel we're on a trajectory where we have some upside, where we can go into these games with like USC and Ohio State and college football playoff games and actually put up points and win. Because if we saw what happened last weekend,
gotta score, playoffs, and you gotta score a lot. You gotta score a lot.
Right. And you gotta have good decision making skills along with putting up points as a quarterback to win big games. And Hartman has proven over his trajectory. Yeah, he's made some interceptions and this and another, but guess what? He's taking more risk at getting the ball downfield in stride to receivers. I think they said like in 2021 he had like 85 passes plus 20 yards in 2021 alone.
Check this out.
85 passes, man.
Check this out. I saw last night. He is number 1 in the whole country, I think, in like depth of passes thrown. It's like he's number 1 in throwing the ball deep, like attempts. And that's really interesting to me because that is not Notre Dame's game at all. And I'm very interested to see how that changes things because he's good at opening things up and taking shots and all that. Notre Dame is averse to that. I want to see some things change, damn it.
I do too, man, because here's the deal. Like, we got all these top receivers coming in. Man, I'm seeing on Twitter these younger guys, like Braylon James and some of these other receivers. Man, they sharing his posts and put these little emojis like they got their eyes poking out like, oh man, we about to get, these kids are not dumb, man. They see who's coming in, they know who's in that room, and they're looking at it and they're saying, oh man, we got a gunslinger coming in. Like, they ready. Okay, the Caleb Smith kid coming from Virginia Tech, he saw that, he's hyped. He's like, these kids understand they're getting ready to get major ample opportunities now to get the ball in their hands and not just one person being targeted the entire game for passes. It's going to get spread across the whole table.
Yep.
So now the pushback now is going to be on Coach Stuckey to get these guys ready and prepared, because now you're really going to have your work cut out for you this year. You got a quarterback who can really throw the ball, and he's going to throw the ball. So you got to get these receivers ready to catch the ball, get it in stride, and make, contested catches, But then here's the flip side. Okay, like, we got a dynamic running back room coming back, man. I would argue one of the top 3 best running back rooms in college football next year.
Yep. Hard to argue that. Okay, I think that's accurate.
And here's another thing, John, that I don't think nobody's really considering. So next year, okay, Stroud's gone. Okay, you got Caleb Williams back.
Yep.
But Bryce Young's gone.
Yep.
Who else? The Klubnik kid, he's still kind of in his development stage.
Yep, very much so.
I'm still kind of like, I'm not too sold on him just yet, after watching him play against Tennessee. So what I'm saying is that the way that the college football world is shaking up next year, it's open. And then Stetson Bennett's gone from Georgia next year. So the realms of of opportunity for someone to get in and win a championship beyond these normal brand schools in the college football playoff is going to be huge next year. Why not be Notre Dame? We got one of the best. They said the number one quarterback in the portal, which is Sam Hartman. With all these guys we got in the receiver room, the dynamic running back, the dynamic O-line we have. The only question I really have, man, and I hope that they're putting the work in on that side of the ball, is the defense when it comes to the defensive line, and the safety. Those are only two positions I'm still kind of on edge about.
Man, it's weird. Man, it's weird. Listen, it's very weird to me. Since the season ended, I've been thinking about all this. And I've had this nagging concern about like the defensive line, the defensive front. Like it's just been bugging me in the back of my mind, like feeling like we're not quite as stout there as I'm used to. And it's causing me to be uncomfortable. And I didn't really say anything about it or make a show about it, but it was in my mind. And then since then, I've had a bunch of people bring it up and ask me if I've thought of it. And so have you. Yeah, I have thought of it. It is a kind of a concern. What you can have, man, is the offense gets better and then the defense steps back and we end up in the same spot, just a different equation.
Yeah, we can't have that, man. I think next year, another thing, I hope that we can get a D-line guy. But what I really want Freeman to do is just like Kirby Smart does and Nick Saban and these other big time coaches, is I really want him to put his hands more on the linebackers next season. Like, I think now, see, here's the deal. The first year of his coaching tenure, things were just really, really fast for him because it's his first year going through this whole season, seeing how all these things kind of shape up as a head coach. But in year two, things are going to kind of slow down for Freeman a little bit. He's going to have a little bit more, I'm not going to say like time. Well, yeah, he'll have a little bit more time because he'll understand kind of how everything kind of flows now. So now that the things have kind of slowed down for him, what I will hope, man, is that he puts his hands more on those linebackers and really emphasizes and teaches some of the techniques, man, that are necessary because that's still going to be a young room next year. A young room with a lot of upside, but a very young room. And, I think that Freeman really needs to get his hands all in those linebackers, man, because the cornerback room, the defensive back room, is probably on the defensive side the best room on the entire defensive side by far, by a stretch of a mile.
And the good news is with those linebackers, talent isn't going to be the issue. You're going to have pretty good talent to work with from this class and the one before. Linebackers, man, I thought that was going to be maybe a strength this year. That might be one of my biggest disappointments. And I don't say the offense because I don't expect ours to be good. So I'm never that disappointed because I feel like I don't expect much or in the past I haven't.
Right.
But they're going to have talent. It's just they need to step it up. Marist, I love that hair, but I can't just see it flying into an offensive lineman and stop it.
Right. Yeah, man. Al Washington, man, I hope, man, is that Freeman sees what we all saw all year long. Because, of course, we only see in part. But these are guys that he hired. He knows these guys beyond Notre Dame, and he knows what's in that room. And so I hope, man, that he's having heart-to-heart conversations with these guys, like Al Golden, and tell them, hey, man, this the defensive scheme that you had, some of the stuff guys have to get scrapped out and never put on the field again.
Yep.
If that means that he's got to get his hands back on the defense, like where he's more hands-on than he was last year, then so be it, man, because we cannot afford with the offense that we have coming in. I'm telling you, man, I don't think they're just preparing for the future. I think that they're really saying with the talent that's in that room, we have a clear shot, man, to really make a run and win a championship next year with everything that's being built around this offense. Okay, so the defense.
You
Really
going
is the
that far?
biggest-
Come on now. You really going that far? Are you just
Look,
getting excited, or are
man,
you really
if we
going
gonna
that far?
If we gonna shoot for the stars,
Now, all right. Now,
man.
but you still know. You know this. These schedules, though, the first one Marcus has had and the one coming up, you can't even compare the toughness compared to Kelly, whereas last year the toughest game was Cincinnati at your place. The toughest game the guy had was Cincinnati at home and couldn't figure it out. But you can't compare that to this, man. You can say Clemson's falling off all you want. Clemson, Ohio State, USC is a hell of a 3 teams to have on your schedule, and they're all kind of in a row in the middle of the schedule next year. October is going to be wild.
But you know what? I'd rather it be that way because, for one, we're getting our I don't like to call it warm-up games, but we're going to get games and we can really work out some things, especially having, a guy like Hartman and these receivers and what have you. It's going to give us some opportunity, man, to really work out some things. Number one, I'm glad that Navy's the first game of the year. That's the first thing I'm glad about.
Prepare for it. Get it out of the way. Be done with it.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way, so that we can really focus on some of the more strategic things when it comes to the defenses that we'll be going against. But I if nothing else, man, the floor is definitely New Year's Six bowl game. Like anything less than that, anything less than 10 wins, is a failure.
Nope. I give Marcus got leeway this year because of all the dynamics and all the things beyond his immediate control. And my line, man, is I've been saying every day, every week, every month, every year we get further from Kelly. There's more pressure on Freeman. It becomes more his DNA in the operation. And I think that's perfectly fair.
Yeah, man. I just, I want to see. I'm glad to see. I feel like I woke up this morning feeling so good, man. Like, wow, man, we actually got we're actually having conversations that programs like Bama and Ohio State and Clemson and the other big programs have had quarterbacks coming in, like changing seasons.
Yep.
Like we actually got a chance to actually have conversations about like high-end top quarterbacks. You know what's
good, man? You know what feels good? Let me tell you what feels good. Just as a regular dumb college football fan, it feels good to once be in a position where I pull up Twitter and I can tell other teams are jealous of the position Notre Dame's in. And that is very rare in my life. But to know all these other fan bases are pissed off because Notre Dame landed this guy, you know what? It makes me feel good. It makes me feel damn good.
Look, John, they are pissed because they know the high-end potential in that room with that man at the helm.
Yep.
They know.
And they don't want us to have it.
They don't want us to be successful. They saw the Gator Bowl game. They saw the talent on the offensive side with those receivers and running back. And now, what was the biggest thing everybody said all year long? Even people that hate Notre Dame, man, if they just had a quarterback, man, they'd be this, that, and other. Well, guess what? We just got Hartman. So now they really got something to be mad about.
Yeah, because, it's beautiful.
Hey, look, man, and Buckner said in the interview that he knew that we need to bring one in. So he's not naive to the fact that we needed another quarterback. And I feel like this. If you're the man for the job, then show up for work. Put the work in. If you say you're the man for the job, put the work in. Okay? Because the work don't lie. It don't lie. It don't make no kind of innuendos for anybody. It is what it is. If you show up and do what you're supposed to do, you're going to see the field. If you don't, then, hey, you're not going to see the field, man. At the end of the day, it's a business. And I guess some people are in their feelings about, Buckner because he's the Notre Dame guy. It's another. But look, man, Freeman understands that it's a business. He's on the time clock because he got to show up next season and bring some kind of work of productivity, beyond 8 and 4 seasons. Okay, so he can't worry about how people feel anymore. that's the last thing that he's got to be concerned about, because his job is online when it comes to how we perform on the field, plain and simple.
Yep.
So, I'm excited, man. It's gonna be a competition. There's gonna be some freshmen. They're gonna come in. They hungry. They ready to come in and show that they not coming to sit and watch. They coming to take somebody's position. And that's what we need. If we want to be a championship team, we got to have young guys coming in with the attitude saying, I'm not coming in to watch until nobody's bench. I'm coming in to start, okay? I'm coming in to take somebody's spot, and all this kumbaya, shaking hands, and, okay, that's cool to some degree, but I'm coming here to play because I won't be on TV. They saw Ben Morrison on TV getting all the spotlight as a freshman.
Yep.
So these freshmen now saying, if they can do it, I'm going to do it too.
Man, I like it. Things are trending up, man. They're trending up. Things are trending up, but I still do have some concerns. I still do have some concerns in certain areas, and I want to see in a year or two how they shape out. But I agree with you, man. It is exciting, and it just feels like Freeman is operating Notre Dame more like a actual top 5 aspiring program would. And that's encouraging to me, man. I really appreciate the call. It's been a while since I talked to you. You crossed my mind. I'm glad to reconnect, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, absolutely, man. Absolutely, man.
See ya. Have a good weekend.
All right. You too, man.
What a nice guy. I love it when he calls. It's been a while. I worry about my people when I don't hear from them. Chris, thoughts on Josh Pate saying he thinks Buckner will transfer after the spring once he loses the job to Hartman. Not sure why he would. He's going to play this year, and Hartman is the bridge. I'm a little confused by this. Saying he thinks Buckner will transfer after the spring if he loses the job. That would make sense, because then he'd be able to leave and then go play somewhere else right away next year. So that's a way for him to test out whether he'd get the job or not. And if he doesn't, go play somewhere else. But when you say not sure why he would, he's going to play this year, and Hartman is the bridge. If Hartman wins the job, how much is Buckner going to play this year? So I'm confused about that. And Hartman definitely is the bridge. I'm just not sure it's the bridge to Buckner. Hartman's definitely a bridge. But I have real doubts that it's leading to Buckner, starting with Buckner and then ends with Buckner. I don't know if that's the path of this bridge. Maybe I'm dead wrong. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a guy in his basement. Larry. Morning, John from Houston. Excited about Hartman. Had to land him and did. Got him. Nick Dean, competition's good no matter what position you're talking about. It absolutely is. Competition is the tide that rises all ships. That's for sure. That is for sure. 707, what's going on today? Good morning.
Good morning, John. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's never boring in Notre Dame land. We're just kind of taking the temperature here. Well, how do you feel about all these developments?
Well, I haven't talked to you, I think, since before the game. Oh, shoot. I just dropped some coffee on the carpet.
Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy
before the bowl game, but I don't know if you noticed, but boy, you're saying every minute that goes by, Freeman gets more pressure moving away from Kelly's team. But when they talked to him at the end of the bowl game, he looked like he was seriously under pressure. He didn't even smile. He was so pressurized.
Yeah.
And I was very happy to see him mentoring Buckner during the game. He must have gone over to him 3 times that they put on camera where he was talking to him, because what I think they do, and I think I left you this message on tape, but I think that the head coach probably has different frequencies for when the defense is on the headset and then when the offense is on. So I think he listens into each of the, Golden and Ree's conversations with their captains, calling the plays and whatnot. So, I think that he saw Reese probably balling him out, and, he wound up bringing him over and, talking him off the ledge, But anyway.
Yeah, man, the dynamic with Freeman, listen, it's very interesting. If you pay attention when they show him and the way he reacts to things on the sidelines, you can see what's going on with Marcus Freeman in that bowl game. You can see that he wants to support Buckner, wants him to succeed, wants him to make up for lost time and do well and carry the team and all that. And you could see in Freeman's eyes that he feels bad that Buckner's development isn't where any of us want it. And at the same time, you see Freeman rolling his eyes, kind of like, you can't throw that pick six in the end zone, buddy. Like you see both. He was sick to his stomach, and you could see he wanted to be like, what are you doing? But Buckner is he's inexperienced. That's what you get from an inexperienced guy.
Yeah. Well, I when they showed him talking to Freeman after that pick for 100 yards, I read Buckner's lips, and he said, I didn't even see him. So, that was a bad one. But, if you talk about his other two interceptions, both of them were deflections. So, I'm not really that down on Buckner. Here's a guy that is starting his third game of his career in college. His first one was against Ohio State.
So what happens now, though? What happens now, though? You have that dynamic where he's been the guy in the pipeline, the guy you want to develop, and he's been in the top of Notre Dame fans' minds forever. So what happens next? Where does this go now?
Well, I'm seeing a guy that in his third start was accountable for 5 touchdowns. I'm liking that, and don't get me wrong, I'm happy that Hartman is going to come in, and I think it should be a battle for the starting job because, Hartman's going to have to learn this offense. He's lucky he has maturity, and I'll tell you this, Reese is very lucky to have him because it gets him off the hook for developing a guy. Here's a guy that's 24 years old. He'll be 25 when he's playing in the season. So Reese gets a good pass by getting him on board.
He does, but all right, let me try this on you though. I thought of this, man. You guys are on it. Everything you guys are hitting on, I've thought of in the last day. Follow me here. You just said he kind of gets out of having to do that developmental phase because what this guy is. What if I argued in a unique way that almost puts more pressure on Reese because he doesn't have any out? He does not have any out not to design an offense that could do anything now because he has a quarterback that could do it all. And in that way, there's more pressure on Reese to me because he knows now there is no excuse. There is I don't have a quarterback that could do it all. You don't have any of that. This offense needs to take obvious leaps and bounds.
I think you're giving Hartman a ton of credit. I mean, I looked up his stats and, not including the bowl game he just played, he's a 6-5 quarterback for the year. They were 6-5. He finished at 1-4. He had one win in 5 games to finish the season. So don't get all crazy about how this guy's the savior for Notre Dame because he's going to have to show me.
But wait a second. Whoa. Wait a second. How?
Go ahead.
Fine. That's fine. But I'm looking at the body of work and I'm looking at the numbers. And here's where this gets tricky. It's not a clean slate. I'm only comparing Hartman to what's in our room. I can only compare Hartman to our dynamic, not anything else. And in our dynamic,
who other than Clemson had a good defense for him to show his skills?
Hey, listen, I'm open to that. And like the ACC being bad and all that, inflating his numbers and all that. Even if I account for all that, it puts him ahead of anything we have or have had. Even if I try and like cancel out for that, that's how low level Notre Dame's been in this department. It's not a good spot to be.
I agree with that, but it's because we haven't been able to see Buckner. So he gives us a ball game where he scores 5 touchdowns, 290 yards passing, and what did he have, like 60 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns.
It's such a tricky dynamic.
We still don't know his
okay,
total
but
ceiling.
let me ask this though. This is such a healthy discussion. This is such a healthy discussion. God, I love this. This is why I do this show. This discussion's great. So you just said we don't really know what he can be because of the delay in the development for reasons beyond his control. Right. Fine. We all agree with that. He's about 4 football years behind where he should be in football development terms, literally.
And look at what he did. I mean, project that out.
Right.
90 yards a game.
Okay. But my next question is, am I expected to wait 7 or 8 years to see what that full thing is? Because I just don't know if that is feasible. I can't wait 6 or 7 years for you to reach peak development. I might be dead by that many years.
On an earlier call, you just said we have to be patient for this to become Freeman's team, and you have to give like 2 or 3 years. And I was sitting there saying, I don't want to give any more years. I really don't. So I'm with you on that. And now you're saying, 6 or 7 years. Well,
but I'm just saying Buckner's developmental track is way behind where it should be. We're all frustrated. And I just don't know in real life if there's that many spins at the wheel for him. Maybe there is.
But you're seeing solid evidence just in that ball game of what can be. 5 touchdowns, 290 yards passing, 2 rushing touchdowns. He looked in total control. He was getting rushed. That first half, they were killing him. They were doing the same thing that Navy did, where they were blitzing guys up the middle, and of course, Lug and Correll were getting killed, and so Buckner was getting killed. But he hung in there, and he was trying to complete, like that one where he shuffled the ball ahead to that tight end. The tight end wasn't ready for it, but that was like a 3rd and 3, and it would have been a first down.
Yeah.
And he wasn't ready for it. He wasn't able to go off the cuff like Buckner did. He tried to make it happen, and it wound up getting through his hands and returned for a touchdown.
Yeah. Now listen, I totally get the notion that, okay, Buckner's healthy, put up a ton of yards and did a lot of good things in this bowl game. That's trending in the right way. And then feeling like with Hartman, you're kind of stifling some of that to some extent. Or I get that this is
there to be great competition. I don't think it should be he should be given the title of king just because he signed with Notre Dame.
Well, I agree with that. I just see no physical way that Buckner beats him out if they're both healthy. Like, I agree with you. He shouldn't just be handed it. I just see no physical way based on what I've seen that Buckner's going to do enough to make Freeman feel comfortable doing that. I just don't see it happening.
And none of us really know what Hartman's going to be able to bring to he's going from a Wake Forest team to Notre Dame. I mean, that's quite a bit of difference. I mean, who are the teams that he played as opposed to who he's going to be playing this year with Notre Dame?
Now, let me flip this on you. Let me flip some of this on you now. Now, you said about, the defenses he's playing and some of those stats or whatever and all that. On the other side of it, don't you think he might be capable of even more behind a Notre Dame offensive line than a Wake offensive line?
So, but well, they're only returning 40% of the offensive line, the 2 tackles, and they're the 2 best, which is I'm happy about. But Buckner, didn't have a really great line, and we're going to see they're not going to be great again this year because they did pretty good. I can't really say they're bad, but they had weaknesses, and it wasn't on their tackles. It was their middle of the line. And Patterson was playing, with an injury all year with his foot. He was in a boot like every time off. I heard he was walking around campus with a boot on every week. So, he didn't have a whole lot this year to work with, especially up the middle. And I think that's where they showed our weakness was they were able to get to the quarterback, through the middle. That's where their successes lied. And that's what USC did, and that's what they also in Navy's game, where they just sent everybody up the middle. And Lug would go block down, and I can't tell you how many times I saw him and Carell looking for people to block. Meanwhile, his quarterback's on his back.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I know. Yeah, it's man, I don't know. Is this a situation where we're just as fans, it's what we do to overthink all this? And the reality is these are guys that just want to compete, and we just need to let them all get in the room. And then when spring practice starts, we see where it goes, and then look at the blue and gold game and go into the summer, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. It's all going to shake out. There's going to become a natural order to this, and we should just relax. Is that maybe the truth here?
Yes, and I'm thrilled that Hartman came on, because it's a very good fit for both Notre Dame and him. I think he's a mature quarterback, and hopefully he'll be able to learn the playbook. And if an injury happens, then it's the other guy in. So it's really not a bad thing any way you look at it. It's a good thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. And they're about the same size, the two quarterbacks. They're both about 6'1", right? They're about 200 or something.
Yeah, I believe so.
So they're not. Yeah. So they both have their pluses and minuses. He goes for it. He's like you said, he likes to throw it downfield, and that's a good thing. Buckner didn't have any experience with these guys, and he won't have it either. But at least they both have an off season to get used to these receivers,
Yeah.
And the way Stuckey coaches them up and who he's bringing in. I mean, it shows pretty positive to me. I just think we have to find the middle three offensive linemen to really.
Yeah. And the good news is, here's the good news about that. And I thought about this too, man. You guys are hitting on everything. The good news is with that offensive line, unlike this year, you do have a few very winnable games before you play Ohio State. So if there's any of that calibration, the line needs to get coordinated, whatever, you're going to have a few winnable games that with some leeway and margin there to be able to build that up before Ohio State comes to town. That helps compared to last year. You didn't have that.
Exactly. I agree with that. But, they do have to go to Dublin or whatever. And so that's going to take a toll on the team.
You know what? If it's Navy, go ahead and get it out of the way first. Do the whole Navy prep thing. And then you just got to hope nobody cut blocks your ACL or something week one. That's the only problem with it being the first game. If something dumb happens, then you're kind of, with the Navy-ness. And hey, the other thing is, what if Navy comes out and looks totally new and Notre Dame's not prepared for it? Ken's gone. Watch Navy throw 90 passes in that game because nobody's expecting it. Like we're all expecting the Navy triple option and they come out on the air raid or something. I'm telling you, I'm a little bit, it's Ken's gone. So I got my radar on that for week one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really too worried about Navy. We're so far above now with our talent and our depth of.
Yeah, I just don't want any injuries.
Obviously, though, our defensive line, I think, is really the point that we're going to have to really address as far as any transfers. I think.
Yeah.
Everything else,
I just feel a little light up there, man. I don't know why, and I just feel like we're a little light, and I don't feel like I'm getting the penetration or the run, the run. Something just makes me feel like it isn't right, like where it's been, and I don't like that.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I'm not too down on the defense just because, that ball game, we were without Joseph, we were without Foskey, Adimalola, and Morrison for the second half, and yet we dominated them in the second half on defense. So I'm feeling pretty good about the defense, except for if we can get like one or two guys that are like 6'6" in the middle, just to put their hands up and give the guy something to be able to not be able to see through,
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that I'm looking forward to on a transfer portal.
And you know what, though? Like sometimes the off seasons, it's good in the season. It's so busy week to week grind, and all the news and everything that comes out. Now you have time to really sit back and think about it. And I always take time every couple weeks and kind of gauge my Notre Dame arrow. with what's going on and everything in the program and with recruiting and how I'm feeling and the news. And I always gauge this arrow. It's hard not to feel like Notre Dame's trending very, very, very up in almost every way right now. Am I off on that? Recruiting seems to be, it's going to be better. You got this quarterback now, like things seem to be trending up.
I think so. I mean, I love what Freeman's doing, but you know, it looks more and more like he's going to keep Rees, and that's my only bugaboo about him. And it's going to, you know, this is really Rees' year to show, you know, he's got no excuses now. He's going to have Hartman or Buckner, and if one guy gets hurt, he'll have a pretty solid guy to fill in.
Yep.
You know, and you know, so it's really going to be to Rees to see, like one kid in the chat. I'm Joe Long, by the way, and I haven't talked yet over there, but one kid said something about his scoring 40 points a game. Well, that's asking quite a bit. You know, we could have you know, Joe Montana back there, and it'll be hard to get 40 points a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to have a little realistic, and that's where I'm giving Rees a little benefit of the doubt. But I think he should be able to score, you know, easily 30 points a game. You know, USC's defense isn't great. Clemson seems to be trying to rebuild after their offensive or defensive coordinator left. You know.
Yeah.
And so then you have who else? USC, Ohio State, and so you know they are losing their quarterback. Maybe, hopefully, I don't know, but.
I would expect the whole dynamic's going to be switched because they would be breaking in a new young quarterback at our place. Right. So that is a very intriguing dynamic to me because it isn't week one, so you don't have that pressure. But it is a flip of those dynamics because Notre Dame's going to be in the position with the experienced quarterback with the other guy on the road young.
Yeah, Notre Dame, they just have to open the season with a killer mentality. They can't wait to adjust and see what's working. They have to know, you know?
Yeah.
They can't start slow and try and find the right players. Like,
right.
This offensive line, they're going to have to fill in 3 guys, and they better be ready to go game one and play one, you know?
Yeah, But I do.
In college, you don't get many second chances.
Yeah, I do feel good, though, that there is some leeway. You don't have to play your A-plus game to win any game going up to Ohio State. So that gives me some comfort and peace of mind. You could work some of those things out in a way this year's schedule would not allow. Really good call, my friend.
One last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go on to somebody else.
Sure.
I was watching the tapes of the All-American Bowl.
Yeah.
And this kid, Brennan Vernon, he's tall. I think he's 6'6". And he is fast. He reminds me of Howie Long. I don't know if you remember him. He played back in the 80s.
Yeah, even I know him.
Yeah. Well, this guy reminds me of him because he's that quick and he's solid. And it's just going to be fun to watch his
Let me tell you this. I have built a relationship with his parents and his family. I identified him when he was being recruited and committed to Notre Dame. I saw something different in him and the Ohio thing and kind of all the Ohio tough guy stuff, and the Bosa kind of is in my mind. Like, not that he's going to be them, but like the Ohio thing and all that. And I started talking about it, and the family reached out to me and said, I really appreciate it. You know, we're following Notre Dame stuff. I've gotten to know them very well, met them in person, hosted them at Notre Dame for the Cal game.
Wow.
This guy is built different. But listen, he does not have a 18-year-old high school boys mentality. Like the dad tells me, John, all this guy wants to do is work out, do his studies, and then eat. That's it. He's not interested in any of the games. He wants to work out, eat, keep his studies in line, and then go to Notre Dame and knock people's brains off their head. He's an animal, and he's built different.
In one of the practices they had for that bowl game coming up, or I don't know if they played, there's 2 of them that play, but he had an interception in the practice. The defensive line.
Yeah, I saw that. But the other thing is, man, for us Notre Dame people, this matters. For Notre Dame people, it matters. I'm going to tell you, these are the nicest people, the nicest family. They love everything about Notre Dame, all in on Freeman. this kid is built different in his mind. His brain is not that of an 18-year-old guy. He thinks different. And I think there's big potential there for him to be something unique.
Yeah, I agree totally. When I saw him, I was like, wow. He
Yeah.
just stood out. Like, he was huge. He was so much bigger than everybody else, and he was faster. So, I'm looking forward to him stepping in, like, pretty soon. I'd be surprised if they redshirt him, because he's got to see the field. He's untapped, chaos.
Yep. And then he took a drop in the recruiting rankings when he didn't attend some of these 7-on-7, this and that, whatever, dropped some in the rankings. That's all it is. The guy is down to business. He don't play games. He can't wait to get there and crack heads. So we're in a good spot on that. And you know what? Knowing those parents and what a good family it is and how much they love Notre Dame, it's all a good fit. And I'm excited about it, man. Thanks for the call. We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we did. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Have a good weekend. See ya. Oh, good calls today. Quinn Kibler, the Harbaugh statement is such cap. Dude, Harbaugh put out a statement saying nothing. It was a whole bunch of words and paragraphs. He said nothing. He said, although nobody knows what's going to happen in the future, is one thing he said. And then the next thing he says is, I expect to be coaching in Michigan. All that statement is them saying to him, this is a bad look. You have to make a statement. But it didn't say anything. It didn't say anything. Savage Fitness. People think Hartman is already the starter, and I think that's a slap in the face to the guys that are already there, if that's true. If what's true, that people think he's the starter, or that if that's actually happened, is it a slap in the face for me to think that's what's going to happen? You got to have a competition, whether it's a legitimate one or not. What does it hurt to have everybody engaged and compete? Compete. It's the name of the game. (937), you're on the line. You've been waiting a long time. My bad.
Hey, John.
Good morning.
John.
What's on your mind?
Good morning. I've called in a few times, and I usually bring up some stats and stuff, because I'm an analyst by profession here. And I listened to your last video, and that you had posted. It was like a 10 or 15 minute video on Hartman coming and stuff. And I agreed with everything you said, except for your last point, which was that Hartman is objectively, statistically better than Ian Book. And then you said you're fine, which I agree with that. But then you said today, like Jack Cohn, right? So when you look at their stats, I just look at it, I say, yeah, Hartman has more volume. So obviously he has more passing yards and more touchdowns. But he also has more interceptions. And so when you look at this from a completion percentage, so if you look at all their junior and senior stats and you add them up, Sam Hartman has the worst completion percentage and the worst touchdown to interception ratio.
But wait, now I'm not a stats ex. I'm not a statistical guy. What does the body of work do to that, though? Like what would the body of, like, if you were to look at like the volume, how do you account for the volume difference of like 5 years of work for Hartman versus 1 or 5 games for Buckner? Like, that's where I have a hard time.
Jack Cohn completed 67% of his passes. His last 2 years between Wisconsin and Notre Dame. Hartman has 1 year over 60%.
Right, but what is he getting out of those? But what are you getting out of the completions, though? Like that, I need to know what you're getting out. Like a 5-yard out pass isn't as value to me as a 40-yard pass.
Their yards per attempt are all within like a half a yard. So like he's not completing like 10 yards per attempt, and they're completing 3 yards per attempt. They're all right around 8 to 8.5 yards per attempt. So it's not. So he just threw. I mean, his junior year, Hartman threw 508 passes. You know, the most anybody threw between Ian and Jack Cohn was 399. Ian Book threw 399 passes. So I mean, is in 2019. So the guy just throws more passes. That's it. That's how he gets 8,000 yards in between the last 2 years.
So you think that if those guys threw the exact the volume was the same, that
what I get from this is that we're not getting a Caleb Williams. We're not.
I agree with that.
We're not.
I agree with that.
And so this goes back to your point, which I totally agree with. Homegrown talent, all right?
Yeah.
And so it's
always my preference if it's available. It's always my preference if it's available.
If I ask you today, would you take the best form of Ian Book or Jack Cohn for 1 year over playing Buckner next year? Is that a yes or a no?
No. No.
And so I just don't be upset if next year we go 10-2 because we had a transfer that ended up being an Ian Book or a Jack Cohn-esque statistical phenomenon that gives us those same results. And then say Buckner, then maybe he gets a better offer somewhere else and he leaves, or maybe he just has like a solid year. But then we're moving on to a Menchie because we were looking at maybe future hope or something like that. And then we end up dragging this all out, okay? And it ends up being a longer process rather than a shorter process.
I think the idea has to be that one of Minchie or Carr is going to be a guy to hitch your wagon to cut off this cycle of spinning our wheels. That's got to be the idea, right? Like that's got to be the notion. And that's my path. And you kind of need it or you're going to end up in this every damn year.
I look at Ohio State as the model. You look at LSU. LSU got lucky, and they had a transfer of an Ohio State guy who didn't play a game, and then ends up being one of the best college quarterbacks ever, right, for a single year. And they got lucky, but they got a transfer, and then it all went away after that. Right? They kind of a short burst, won it all, but then it all goes away. They go back to being bad. But Ohio State, they constantly get a top 5, top 10 quarterback recruit. And then eventually some of those guys, like Joe Burrow, says, I'm not playing. I got to go, because I think I can play, but they constantly stack themselves with high-end talent. And that's like, that's what you need. That's what you want.
Yeah.
And they've had a really great quarterback the last 15 years. And so that's the model, right? So you want to bring in a Menchie, you want to bring in a Carr, you want to bring in those guys consistently. And some of those guys will leave, but that's okay because you always have something really good coming, right? And that's fine, because usually you're hitching your wagon to somebody for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how that cycle works. And so that's the model. And like you look at Texas, right? Texas had Quinn Ewers and they had Card, and then they have Manning coming, right? Card says, I'm not beating out Ewers. Ewers beat me out. I got to go. But nobody's saying that like, oh, Texas is in like a horrible quarterback situation, right? Ewers did get hurt last year. Similar thing to the Buckner, but they're not saying, oh, we're so scared that he's going to get hurt again, But even if he gets hurt, they got they're going to play Manning. Right? That's what's going to happen. And so I look at Notre Dame's quarterback room, and I have no problem bringing Hartman in. Fine. It just gives us a more robust situation. Because if Hartman gets hurt, well, then you're going to have Buckner. That's fine. And if Buckner gets hurt, then we do have another guy who's highly recruited.
Yeah, the idea is having high-level depth.
We got another guy who's a sophomore, who's been on our team for a year, so he should know something right?
I just feel like we're not used to this. And then when a guy leaves, it feels wrong, but that's normal in a healthy quarterback room at a top 10 program.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I don't have a problem bringing another quarterback, but my only problem with bringing in a guy in Hartman's situation. This is something that Mike Goolsby said, and I kind of buy it. He said Hartman might end up using Notre Dame more than Notre Dame ends up using Hartman. Because look, Hartman, he wants to go somewhere for a year to up his draft stock.
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what he wants to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And even if he has a good year, even if he had the same year that he had last year, he's going to up his draft stock because he's going to be playing on a bigger stage.
Okay.
So he doesn't necessarily need to play better. He just needs to play the same. And that's all going to work out better for him.
Yeah, but if he plays the same that he played last year at Notre Dame, we're better too. If he plays the exact same,
we're better than what we were. But like, what are you planning to get out of this? Do you really think you can win a national championship with him?
I think
that's the only way this all plays out.
But the idea
really
is this is risk mitigation. This is risk mitigation. They went down this path last year, rolled the dice with the young developmental guy. He got hurt and it almost ruined the year. That is the impetus behind this. They will not allow themselves to be in that position again.
But
it's that simple.
You can't compare last year's roster to this year's roster. This year's roster, if you exclude Hartman, right, you would have Buckner, the sophomore, I can't think of his name right now, and then you'd have this freshman,
Angeli,
supposed to be really great, right?
Yeah,
Angeli, right?
Yeah.
So those are your three. And unfortunately, we never got to see Angeli throw a ball in a game, which I think is a little unfortunate, considering I think he was in 3 games.
Yeah.
So we don't know what he is at all, but he did do really well in the spring game, which is a caveat because that's not a real game. It's all kind of hodgepodge.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, you have 3 quarterbacks, and if Angeli isn't good enough to play in the game, why is he on a roster to begin with? So he should have some talent, But I don't know. I mean, if I do look at it, I think this is a little bit of a sketchy situation for Hartman. I don't know why Hartman's coming to Notre Dame, in my opinion, because Buckner is not leaving. If I was Buckner, it doesn't make sense for him to leave because he can probably get his degree done this year and then have his Notre Dame degree and then be out if he wants to be out. But look, if Hartman has some kind of health issue, you never know if Buckner comes in there and he does, and we look at that bowl game. What if that tip pass just goes on the ground instead of being a pick six? And then what if that flick, he just makes a better decision and says, I'm not playing high school anymore. Maybe I shouldn't make that pass. And so then you're looking at it. What if Hartman gets hurt before we play Ohio State? And then Buckner goes out there and he has 5 touchdowns and 1 interception, 3 passing, 2 running. Well, that's the beginning of the real schedule. And then all of a sudden, maybe Hartman's not playing the rest of the year.
Well, that's fine.
So I'm just saying.
Like if that works out, that would actually put Notre Dame ahead because then you would have done what I said and insulated yourself against the injury and then found out the other guy could play. Right. And then you have him and the 2 young guys as the depth after him, right?
I just don't like the dynamic of like a guy coming here to up his draft stock and but
this is a 2-way thing though. Notre Dame understands that and they're flirting back. So it's a 2-way thing. I mean, I'm sure
it's dangerous. I look at it as a dangerous game.
What could go on the worst case? On the dangerous end, what's the worst side of the danger? If it goes bad, the danger you're referencing, what is the worst case scenario in that dangerous scenario?
Well, the worst case scenario is that you get a plug stop for a year that then backs up your homegrown development for another year. So if Hartman comes here, we go 10-2.
But that doesn't change what Minchie and Carr are doing at all. Whatever happens this year isn't going to change either of their development.
But it changes the whole dynamic. But it changes the whole dynamic with Buckner.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting at.
It does.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
And I'm fine with that.
He's good enough.
I'm fine with that.
Sophomore, maybe. I'm just saying, but also, I do want to say one other thing we get too far. There's a difference between being a good college quarterback and being like an NFL prospect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of guys that are great college quarterbacks, win a lot, and they're just not NFL guys, and we all know it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And so, and I do look at the potential, and so this also kind of goes into that longevity thing. I do look at the potential of Buckner, and it is, to me, really fascinating that, like, Buckner was our entire team pretty much in the bowl game. We ran the ball pretty well, but we didn't run the ball that much. Like, we should have ran the ball more, but, like, that's another discussion. But, like, he accounted for 5 touchdowns, and he had some mistakes. But look, it's kind of like, he's kind of like that J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. A lot of running dynamics, a lot of deep ball dynamic, And so, in college, having a guy who can run the ball is way more dangerous than your pro style quarterback, So I don't know. There's a lot of potential there, and I'm just saying if he doesn't play another year, and we get a quarterback that just lets us go 10-2, and then he's out, and then you say, well, Buckner will just play, and then maybe we go 10-2 again before we get to our real quarterbacks, right? And when maybe
there is risk in that. There is absolutely risk in that. I get what.
Maybe
I get it.
Play Buckner this year, and hopefully he stays healthy, and then he becomes a really good quarterback.
Right, but what's the downs? But what's the problem with that is, what if the same stupid thing happens as last year? Then Notre Dame screwed all over again with Marcus Freeman year 2 again in a quarterback dynamic with nobody that has any experience or knows what the hell they're doing, and you just can't risk it again. You can't risk it again.
So maybe
you can't risk that again.
Right, you can't risk that again. You had to have a little bit older guy,
Yep.
right, be on your roster to back up Buckner. That's essentially what we needed, right?
No, I needed a guy to come in and start and be better than Buckner. Now I'm not interested in a transfer backing up what we already have. I'm not interested in that.
Well,
if I'm getting a transfer to come in here, he's got to be good enough to win the job, or I'm not interested.
Well, and so this is where I think me and you disagree a little bit, because I look at Hartman and I say, why are we bothering with Hartman? His
insurance, risk mitigation.
It's insurance.
That's it.
But what's our ultimate goal? Our ultimate goal is to win a national championship. And I'm just going to say my prediction is that we're going to go 10-2 next year. Maybe we make the playoff, maybe not, but we'll lose in the playoff when we make the playoff. Because the guy is not the guys who are playing in the playoffs. And that's looking at his efficiency, not his volume stats.
But if you think that about him, you have to think that about Buckner times a million, because there's no evidence,
Buckner,
right?
This next year, I'm just saying, with Hartman or Buckner, we're not winning a national championship. And that's where I stand.
Well, I agree with you. And a large part of why I agree with you doesn't have to do with the quarterbacks. The rest of this roster isn't near that either, though. That's the whole other discussion. I agree with you. And a lot of it doesn't even have to do with the quarterbacks. There's a lot of areas of this roster that aren't at that level.
Right. But could you then but you're not going to have Hartman for 2 years, but you'll have Buckner for 2 years. And so could you possibly have Buckner be good enough to win a national championship the following year? That's, to me, that's the big question.
Yeah.
What are you willing to invest in?
Yeah.
Are you willing to invest in a year that's good versus a year that might be sketchier, has a wider range of failure or success.
Yeah.
Or even the same success, not even a higher success, just the same success, but with a lower floor.
Yeah.
But then possibly have a much higher ceiling the next year.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm.
But you know what, man? Listen, I said this too. Maybe it was before you jumped on. I said Hartman provides stability in a way that Buckner doesn't. And I think that's what drove a lot of this. And Freeman really getting burned hard by Buckner going down this year.
Yeah, he did. Absolutely. He did. And I'm just saying, and they must not have that much faith in Angeli because they never replaced Drew Pine with Angeli.
I just feel like we would hear more about him if he was getting hyped. You know what I mean? I just don't hear about him, which is usually not a great sign when I don't hear about, oh, this guy's doing stuff behind the scenes. Just wait.
Right.
You know?
But my last point that I'll make is I want everybody to think Hartman's the greatest quarterback ever, because then finally we can just have it out with Tommy Reese.
Yeah, I had a feeling I knew where that was headed. I was going to let you finish, but I had a feeling.
You're right. Like, look, this is it. And personally, I think this is the beginning of his end, because I don't think Hartman's as good as what some people think. But like, look, this is it. If we don't go 10-2, it's done though. In my mind, you're just making excuses to keep the guy.
Yeah.
If we go 9-3, it's over, because we can't. Like, look, we're either losing all 3 games to our 3 best opponents, or we're losing a game to a team we should never lose.
Yeah, exactly. I thought of that too. It's like, well, what do I like out of those options? I like none of those options. Losing all the big ones or losing a dumb game. I don't like any of those options.
But if we go 11-1, like, to me that's like the tipping point of like Tommy Reese deserves to stay. 10-2, I think still it's like a debate, right? Depending on how the offense played versus how the defense plays,
right?
Kind of jazz. If we go 11-1, and we can say our offense scored enough points to like allow our defense, like even that kind of allow our defense. We go 11-1. Tommy Reese deserves to stay, okay? Because that means that we beat Ohio State, USC, or Clemson. We beat 2 out of those 3. So yeah, let him stay. If he has a guy who can perform, and it was like, we're going to have a great our running backs are going to be great next year. And I mean, who knows what our offensive line is, but look, he's our offensive coordinator. He needs to be involved in recruiting all these people. So, if our offensive line sucks, don't blame the offensive line coach. I mean, he helped recruit these guys too.
Right.
So,
and
let's just have it out. Let's have it out, and just no excuses anymore. This is it. The second year with all the same coaching staff. Just, if he can't get the job done, let's just move on,
Yeah. But hey, man, listen, I appreciate a lot of these calls today, and always feel like you could call in and disagree or bring something up. That's what makes a good discussion. Yeah. This was beautiful. And the thing is, man, it isn't tricky. And some of this is uncomfortable to know the right path. I think that's where you got to defer to Freeman and say you got to trust his instincts on what he thinks is right, because this is complicated. It's not easy. And it is hard to know the exact fair, right path. I agree with you.
Yep. All right.
Thanks a lot, man. Good call. Well thought out, well researched. Call anytime.
Yep.
Take care. Oh, boy. All right, folks. It's been 2 hours. I got to go. I have a whole bank of phone calls I want to get to. At least 2 people that are going to be mad at me I didn't get to theirs. But I didn't know this was going to take off that way, and the phone calls came heavy on the back half. So if people want to talk about this, whatever, I'll go live in the evening. We'll go live in the morning again. We get this kind of debate I love, where not everybody's on the same page. You could really talk about things at a practical and philosophical level. I love all of it. So we'll do it again, and we'll get into it next week. Good conversations. There's a lot going on. Have a good weekend, everybody.